Okay, good evening and welcome to the public EIAC meeting. Thank you for being here tonight. So let's just jump quickly. Instructions have been provided to all the participants to support electronic engagement. As a substitute chair, I will be managing the discussions that follow tonight. Members will be invited by name to speak to any reports included in the agenda. So also, I will be identifying speakers by using the electronic speakers list. To ensure quorum is maintained, the trustees, members, myself and trustee Bekanu have to verbally announce our withdrawal before disconnecting from the meeting. I ask that all participants be patient so I can ensure all individuals have an opportunity to speak. If you have any feedback to improve participation, please connect with me or corporate secretariat and trustee services so we can ensure structure continue to meet trustee needs. Are there any questions from trustees before beginning? So I don't have any. Trustee Bekanu, do you have anything? I guess not. Okay. So
sorry, Ed, I do not.
Okay, all right, sorry. Sorry, I know you're driving, so I was just saying.
Sorry, I was like, oh,
a little delay.
Drop my phone.
A little delay in your response. Okay, so all right. So first of all, I'd like to welcome new members. Janene Jira Tenraja, I think that's pronounced correctly. If you're here, if you're on the call, welcome. And also Sergeant Karen Hodge, also welcome. If you're on the call, welcome to you coming, joining us. So to get started, I would just be privileged to do the land acknowledgement. We affirm that we are treaty people and acknowledge that the York Region District School Board is located on the lands of two treaties. These treaties are assigned to the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and the First Nations of the Williams Treaties, who are the Mississaugas of Alderville, Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Schuylkill Island, and the Chippewas of Buzzell Bay, Rama, and Georgina Island, our close neighbor and partner in education. To honor these agreements, we will take up our responsibility to be respectful of the traditions, knowledges, and inherent rights as sovereign nations. We will respect the relationship with these lands and recognize that our connection to this land is through their continued relationship with these First Nations. And we acknowledge our shared responsibility to respect and care for the land and waters for future generations. Thank you. Next item is the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? If none, the agenda is approved as written. Okay, and next up is the declaration of conflict of interest. I guess any trustees has a direct personal interest, direct, indirectly pecuniary interest in any matter being discussed during meeting to state their conflict and nature thereof. None from my end. So, Trustee Bekanu, I guess you're okay on the other end too. Yeah, it's a little delay there. All right, so hearing none, moving on to the approval of minutes.
Sorry, Ed, yes. All good.
I gotta give you like 5 seconds, guys. So 10 seconds every time. Okay, sorry. Next up, the approval of minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes of the April 23rd, 2026 EIAC meeting? If none, the minutes of the April 23rd, 2026 EIAC meeting are approved by common consent. So, well, now tonight we start off with the presentations. First up, we have the Community Connection, African Canadian Child Welfare Usury, ACCW. Ooh, that's okay. Representing them is Tanisha Stevens, Manager of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and also Simone McKenzie, Equity Practice Integration Specialist. Welcome, Tanisha and Simone, and I believe the floor is yours.
Great. Simone is unable to make it today, so it'll just be me, but I'm going to share my presentation. Could everyone see that?
Yeah.
Great. So thank you for the introduction again. My name is Can you see? Oh, there we go. My name is Tanisha Stevens. My pronouns are she and her. I'm the Senior Manager of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion at York Region Children's Aid Society, but I'm also an active member of both the EIAC Steering and General Committee at the York Region District School Board. So we really see the York Region District School Board as a key partner with York Region Children's Aid Society in really promoting child and youth safety and well-being for families. So the presentation is really aimed to raise awareness, build knowledge, and really strengthen our collective responsibility and partnership to really address disproportionality and disparity for Black children, youth, and families, particularly within the school and child welfare intersection and context. So in the presentation, I'm going to be talking about what is York Region Children's Aid Society, some of our child welfare sector redesigns and shift, and also what has been some of our collaborative efforts with that shift when working with the community and seeing that collaboration through the African Canadian Child Welfare USHARI. And also, what are our contributions to dismantling anti-Black racism and our interconnection with your strategy as well. So we wanted to, for me, myself, it was really important to start the presentation in establishing the role of CAS. There's been a lot of negative experiences and harm in communities, especially Black, Indigenous, 2S LGBTQ+ communities, when in terms of CAS and the overrepresentation. And so due to this impact, there has been quite a few shifts in service delivery. So we really see our role in the context of community and that we have the shared responsibility with the community to ensure the well-being, protection, and best interests of children, youth, and families. And we're specifically governed by the Child, Youth, and Family Service Act. And that gives us the responsibility to investigate reports of abuse or neglect of children under 18 when necessary, really making sure we're looking after children under their care or supervision, and creating permanent plans, and really providing supports for children, youth, and families through a lens of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so again, going back to this concept of shared responsibility, it's one of the biggest shifts you've seen in the sector with child welfare, and that we see it as the accountability is shared with community in improving service, eliminating outcomes of disparities for equity deserving groups. We see that there's better working partnerships when we work together cross-sectorally, making sure there's wraparound support, and really making sure that we're utilizing extended families and local dialogues. So ensuring that the safety networks are not just informal, but they're formal. And that's how the school board comes in to this whole concept of shared responsibility as well, and making sure families have a voice at the table. They're part of the decisions that are being made. And so one of the other shifts is really this early identification and support and intervention. So we're moving away from a reactive approach and how we work with families to more supportive early intervention, more collaboratively. And one of the biggest shifts you'll see when we talk about equity is around poverty. This concept of poverty is not necessarily a child protection concern, but is really linked to social determinants of health. So how do we work together with the school board when we're working with diverse communities and including the Black community in providing that support, understanding that poverty in itself is not necessarily a child protection concern. And I like to just show this slide because it shows some of the shift and also challenges some of the myths that continue to permeate about children's aid. One of the biggest pieces is that we do receive quite a few calls, but there's not that many calls anymore as in terms of our shifts of being intrusive. We're working with families in the communities, we're connecting them to their families. We're providing ongoing support, again, community links. And so you see there's not many, considering the calls that we get, there's a lower amount of kids that are actually coming into our care. And so we just wanted to show these service statistics. We get it out. We'll get the 2026 shortly, but these are the stats that I like to just also want to highlight that also speaks to our outcomes and the shift in the work that we do. And so it brings to another shift is our commitment to equity and anti-Black racism. YRCS is really committed to building and fostering and sustaining an organizational culture and service that advances inclusion and equitable outcomes, and really embedding equity and anti-racism work in all areas as relates to service delivery. And one of the adoptions and to really support that is a key priority with the One Vision, One Voice race equity practices. There are 11. You see that on their screen. And how we've done that is implemented in our policy and processes to really make sure we're integrating it in terms of anti-Black racism, anti-Indigenous racism, anti-oppressive and equity practice. We're really developing and enhancing staff's knowledge of anti-Black racism, and also anti-Indigenous racism and anti-oppression. We're making sure that we're collecting and doing that analysis of disaggregated data to really inform what are our priorities, what are our initiatives, who are the communities that we need to collaborate with, and to really improve our equitable outcomes, and making sure that we're allocating resources and supports, even internally in terms of our staff advancement. Well, one of the biggest piece that leads us to the USHARI that I'm going to talk about is really about community engagement and partnership. And so as we as an organization journey to becoming more equitable and inclusive in delivering child welfare service to Black families and diverse communities, we're really looking at broadening our approach, not just looking what's our service delivery, but also what's a macro system approach for addressing disproportionality and disparity to really ensure the well-being of diverse communities, but in particular Black families, that it's a shared regional responsibility and partnership across various community organizations within York Region, and such as the York Region District School Board. And so just to highlight, there's some joint priorities and strategies and synergies between YRCS implementation of the One Vision, One Voice framework and the York Region District School Board's dismantling anti-Black racism strategies. For example, One Vision, One Voice Practice 6 really talks about engaging and educating mandate referrers, what the school board would be, police, health, criminal justice, for any potential bias in reporting. And Practice 10 really talks about establishing collaborations and partnerships. And when you look at the York Region District School Board dismantling anti-Black racism strategy, it talks about addressing policies and practices, disproportionality. How do we talk about or ensure that bias is not informing over-reporting? And in the Action 4.4, it specifically names the York Region Children's Aid Society as your partner in and doing that kind of analysis of referral data and making sure that we are educating staff on the impact of oppression and the reporting. And we see that also in priority 6, which talks about strengthening Black families and community engagement with schools and school boards. So the two strategies have overlapping goals and outcomes. And so that kind of leads us to what has been some of our joint collaborations with the York Region District School Boards. What are some of the outcomes around the work? And we've done a lot of work around the duty to report, but what we would say duty to support presentations in collaboration with the York Region District School Board. So we've done a lot of presentations to teachers, principals, superintendents, heads of guidance, all social workers around the duty of support and this shared responsibility. So I just want to say a special thank you to Teresa, the chief social worker, and Lois for helping to arrange a lot of those presentations, and is directly related to a lot, like we said, our joint strategies. And also we've talked about trite reporting. So we've done presentations to talk about how do we address when referrals are may be rooted in bias or discrimination, how do we educate and how do we inform? And so we've done a lot of presentations in school boards around that. And really about equity and inclusivity engagement. So again, we're an active member of York Region District School Boards, EIAC, Council and Steering Committee. We've participated in the Parent, Family and Community Engagement Advisory Committee Regional Symposium. We've presented at the Dismantle Anti-Black Racism Steering Committee and Understanding and Navigating the Education System. So meeting with families of Black students and community. So a lot of collaborations there. And when we think about the more service level, we talk about the DI consultations and active participation in community, conferences to really address issues related to Black children and youth, joint meetings with the York Region District School Board, Inclusive School and Community Service Department. And so really working on that coordination piece. But more importantly, we're going to talk about the African Child Welfare USHARI, because that is also another collaboration. It was jointly created by York Region Children's Aid Society and YRAC, and York Region District School Board is an active USHARI community partner. It's collaboration of 17 community organizations, and I'm going to talk a bit about the purpose. And it's really there to promote, develop, and support and advocate to foster the well-being and cultural identity in terms of community connection, success, and thriving for Black children and youth, and particularly in the York region. So what is the African Child Welfare USHARI? It is a collaborative grounded in African-centered leadership to support the well-being of children and youth who identify and hold African, Canadian, Caribbean, or Black heritage for York region. And what's really important about the USHARI is at a macro level. it's at a systems level. And so it's really how do we, not just in our organizations, but how on a system level in York Region, do we influence the lives and outcomes of Black children? So shifting from service to systems approach, so the Ushari really gives that forum for that. We have quite a few organizations that are part of the Ushari, and what is really noted, we have about 17, and it's at different levels. We have post-secondary, we have children's mental health, we have municipality. But what's really important is all of these organizations have their own anti-Black racism strategy. And so how do we come together in the region or cross regions to really look at how do we come together to address each one of our organizations' strategy collectively to support the outcomes of Black children, youth, and families. And so when we think about the ACCW vision, it's really, the vision is about children and youth and families and communities across Ontario. We made it that broad, but again, specifically to York Region, to have a deep sense of belonging and support in their culture and identity as people of African descent living here in the region, and they have access to resources and opportunities to build, create, and contribute positively to their communities. And so when we think about the mission, we are working again to promote collectively. All these agencies have their own anti-Black racism strategy. How do we come together as a collective to advocate, to support, to work with the community, get to know, have those connections. Each one of us taking the feedback from the community to inform the work that we're doing. And so when we think about the role of ACCW, the strategic direction, it's really about how do we address disparity outcomes collectively. And for us, when we think about overrepresentation in child welfare, there's overrepresentation in school suspensions, expulsion, dropout rates in the school board. So there are some collective areas that we can work together as a community and really focusing on advocacy as a system in the region and working together for the best interests of families. And also accountability. We want to be accountable, not just to the systems and our strategic plans to dismantle anti-Black racism, but also to the community. Are we led? How do we get feedback? And that's why we're going out to the community, letting them know about the Ushari that exists, what's the purpose, and that we, through the different organizations, get the community feedback to help us to support in doing this collective work. And so overall, in terms of working together, we're working collaboratively to ensure the elimination of disproportionality and disparity. We're looking at interconnecting issues depending on what sector that face Black families within York Region from a community-based Afrocentric lens. We're looking at establishing specific goals collectively to help support and reduce some of those overrepresentations. We're building relationships within the region, community stakeholders, and we're also supporting the transition to community. As you know, there's Black-led organizations, part of the Ushari in York Region, so making sure that we're connecting to the resources that they provide to help support the community as well, and help developing this multi-service kind of approach and model for addressing the issues that face many of the organizations in terms of disparity for the community. So that's it for my presentation. I don't know if anyone has any questions. Just going to open it up for a bit.
First of all, thank you very much, Tanisha. Lots of good work there. Does anybody within the committee have any questions for Tanisha? Your work, does it involve working with the families? Like I see a lot of the work you've done is for children and within the school, like within the young adults, not like young adults, but the students, the young people with families. Have your organization spend any effort
We
in
have
that
to
area?
do, holistically. So in terms of our intersection with the school board, yes, like with those case conference, students would be there, caregivers are there, but our work on a whole, in terms of safety, we can't do without the caregivers being
Yeah.
part of that conversation and having their voice. Just a bit of the shift is before sometimes we only talk to caregivers and their perspective, and we really moved to have children's voices, youth voices in their planning and what's works best for them. And that's what makes the Ushari very powerful, is that it's not just in child welfare, it's interconnected. We're all interconnected in terms of the system, and making sure youth voices, what you're hearing in the school board, is reflected also in child welfare. And so that's how we're trying to connect. But we have to work with caregivers. We have specific parenting programs for caregivers to really support safety.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thanks. Great to hear that. So,
Mhm.
any other anyone have questions for Tanisha? Comments? Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you very much,
Thank
Tanisha.
you.
Thank you for your great effort of the for community.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Next up, we have another presentation. Let's see. From the it's a budget review update. Please, we have Michelle Guthrie, Principal Equity. Wow, this is a very long name. Principal Equity, Inclusive Schools and Community Service, First Nations, Métis, and in your education and assessment service. I got it right. Okay, Michelle, floor is yours. Please go ahead.
All right, thank you. Okay, so last month, Chair Rahman presented EIAC's budget recommendations to the Property and Finance Standing Committee. And at that time, he shared EIAC's goal of ensuring that the board creates and sustains equitable and inclusive learning and working environments in all schools and workplaces. So tonight, I'll outline the recommendations that we're sharing. So in terms of student achievement, in line with the director of the district action plan, centering student achievement, EIAC recommends maintaining funding for the following budget priorities, continuing to build educator capacity in anti-oppression, intersectionality, and culturally relevant and responsive pedagogy to strengthen foundational learning skills in all areas with a continued focus on literacy and numeracy. Provide ongoing professional learning opportunities through collaboration between ISCS, student services, and curriculum and instructional services. Ensure coordinated and responsive support to address barriers and meet the diverse strengths and needs of students. Provide targeted school-based support through interdepartmental consultants to strengthen equity-focused instructional practices. Support educators in implementing high-impact teaching strategies that improve student outcomes and foundational learning skills, again with a continued focus on literacy and numeracy. Provide release time for educators to engage in collaborative inquiry, professional. Oh, sorry. Oh, okay, I'll keep going. Professional learning and capacity building initiatives, as well as continue to prioritize implementing student leadership programs in partnership with community organizations. Provide staff and student training on artificial intelligence tools to better support diverse student needs, improve student achievement, and support equitable outcomes. And make data-informed budgetary decisions that prioritize student needs while centering our marginalized students. And then in terms of health and well-being, so again, centering health and well-being in line with the district action plan, EIAC recommends maintaining funding for the following budget priorities, continuing to expand partnerships with identity-specific community agencies to provide culturally relevant mental health and well-being support for students and families, create safe, inclusive, and affirming spaces where racialized and marginalized students and staff can share experiences, build community, and access meaningful support, as well as continue to prioritize engaging staff in building and strengthening partnerships within school communities that reflect, affirm, and support the diverse intersectional identities of students and families, and provide professional learning opportunities for students and staff that promote mental and physical health, well-being, and inclusive learning and working environments. And finally, in alignment with the district action plan and the commitment to human rights and inclusive education, EIAC recommends maintaining funding for these budget priorities by continuing to provide professional learning that strengthens inclusive and disability-affirming mindsets through anti-ableism and disability justice learning opportunities, continue implementation of the Inclusive Education Initiative to support staff in identifying and addressing systemic oppression through anti-oppressive, anti-ableist, anti-racist, and inclusive pedagogical practices, further invest in partnerships, learning opportunities, and resources developed in collaboration with First Nation, Métis, and Inuit communities, and continue advancing the work of the Center for Black Excellence and implementing actions aligned with the Dismantling Anti-Black Racism strategy to support Black student achievement, such as graduation coaches, pathways, and transition supports and specialized programming, as well as continue to develop and support diverse student representation on committees and advisory spaces, centering students as co-leaders and amplifying student voice through initiatives such as Youth Space and identity-specific student associations. Strengthen family and community engagement by addressing barriers to participation, including access to translation and interpretation, in order to gather meaningful feedback on identity-affirming programs and practices, and prioritize research and leadership resources to effectively measure, monitor, and support inclusive leadership practices across the system. And I'll pass it back to you, Trustee Law. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Yes, I think I will actually thank the committee and all those who have input into the recommendation to the budget. As you all know, this year is we having some big challenge due to enrollment decline and all the.
Ed, you muted yourself.
So now I forgot where I was at. But basically, I just commented that the team here put forth all these recommendation, and myself and most of the trustees that were in the finance planning committee, we heard you. Like we did take a lot of consideration, and we hope the staff be able to put all these recommendations into the budget in the coming year, even though we have challenges facing, and as you all know. So at the same time, though, if anyone has any questions for Michelle regarding the budget input? No? If not, thank you very much, Michelle. And we'll move on to the next presentation. Next one is about affirming to SLGBTQIA+. We welcome Amanda from Karen and also Deandro Records Dunn to join us. And the floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. I will share my screen. Okay, good evening. My name is Amanda Ramcran, and I'm the coordinator for the Equity and Inclusive Education team, and joined today by my wonderful colleague, Deandro Dunn, Community and Partnership Developer with Inclusive School and Community Services. Today's session is intentionally brief and awareness focused. The goal is not to provide all the answers, but rather to highlight some of the intentional work happening across your York Region District School Board, the importance of visibility and belonging for students, and the role we all play in creating inclusive spaces. So throughout the presentation, we will explain what is Pride Month, how student voice continues to drive our work in affirming identities for all, and we'll also reflect on why visibility matters through events like Pride flag raisings and community celebrations. And lastly, we'll leave you with questions for reflection around how we will continue to make space for all students to feel like they belong. We thank you again for being here and for the work you continue to do in supporting students every day. I'm going to now pass it off to my colleague, Deandro.
Thank you, Amanda. So starting with why this work matters. All students have the right to exist authentically and safely within our schools. Inclusive schools improve student well-being. Representation increases belonging and engagement, as well as affirming environments reduce isolation and harm. And ultimately, visibility tells students that they matter within our buildings. Pride Month matters for our students. Students have shared with educators, administrators, and staff the impact of having opportunities to celebrate and affirm their identities, especially throughout the month of June. Two captions on the screen here read, "It means so much to me that educators and schools care about who we are and that they find ways to create learning and events that reflect who we are." And the second reads, "Having schools as a space where I can be seen as my full self means I feel safe and can belong." The pictures on the screen also are from the annual York Region Pride Parade, which is attended by hundreds of students, families, and staff each year. So kind of the history behind Pride Month. Pride Month is celebrated every June across many school boards in the province and across the country. It originated following the Stonewall Uprising in 1969. It recognizes the history, the resilience, and the contributions of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community, as well as it's a time for visibility, advocacy, education, and celebration. So schools acknowledge pride because students and families are part of these communities. That representation matters, and schools have the responsibility to create inclusive learning environments. So student voice, students consistently share the importance of feeling safe at school, seeing themselves represented, having trusted adults, hearing that affirming language, and being respected for who they are. And ways that educators show support to our students are avoiding assumptions about identities or families, creating those inclusive learning environments despite who's in the room, interrupting harmful language respectfully, using chosen names and pronouns, and continuing the learning and listening to our students.
Thanks, DeAndrew. So we all have a role to play. Educators and staff, we say that creating affirming spaces can include modeling respectful language, supporting student voice and leadership, addressing inclusion, exclusion, and bias, encouraging belonging and connection, and creating environments where students feel respected. Now, when we engage in this work, some questions may arise, such as, why is visibility important? Why does this matter for students? And in our work, we use and draw on helpful anchors to respond, such as inclusive education and human rights is a pillar of York Region District School Board's multi-year strategic plan. Human rights protections apply to all students. Our role is to support safe and inclusive learning environments. Representation and belonging support student well-being. Students deserve dignity and respect. And a reminder here that not everyone online or within communities will agree with inclusive practices, but our responsibility remains centered on student safety, belonging, and human rights. And so as we conclude this presentation, we want to leave you with some reflections and provocations to consider. How do we leave space for affirming identities? What helps students feel safe and valued? What messages do our spaces communicate? And how might small shifts increase belonging? We thank you for your time this evening, and we would now like to pass it on to Chair Law.
Thank you very much, Amanda and Andrew. Do you have any? Anyone have any questions, discussions? So I just want to share a little personal experience. Just recently, one of my schools have an unfortunate incident, and I went and talked to the administrator, and the administrator told me one little things. She said, "Well, if we perhaps provide more sense of belonging to this one particular incident, this incident may not have happened. But there are so many of them out there still. Like we cannot catch up and like provide that for everyone. So I just want to share that with you. I mean, I'm not an educator. I'm an outsider, if you will. I know how much hard work you guys have to do, but I just encourage you all keep doing what you do every day because the kids need you guys. Okay, I'm just not. It's just like I just say it from my heart. I was deeply struck by this recent incident, but what you all just present there is a start, just one part of it. There's so many students out there need this to be looked after. So I just want to share that with you all, and that's why I'm in this particular committee. So, all right. So, well, thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation, and I guess you gave us some questions to put answers to, and actually put some work towards in the future. Thank you again. Right. So, okay. So next up, we move forward to uh, policy updates. So the policy subcommittee actually met to review and discuss policy number 610, reporting children and youth in need of protection, and also policy 422, facility partnerships, and policy 601, First Nations, Métis, and Inuit educations. So there were no specific recommendations put forward on those policies. Okay, so well, I guess in the future, I think we should find out more policies related to equity and inclusivity and share it with the community and also with the representatives so that they can give more input moving forward in our future meetings. So, right? Okay. So along that, next up is the community updates and announcements. Are there any particular updates and announcements for the community? Let's see the chat group. Anything from the chat group?
Hi there, this is Jenna from 360 Kids.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi.
We can hear you. Yeah, please
Can you
go
hear me
ahead.
okay? Okay.
Yes.
Well, I just want to say I went to the YRDSB Pride flag raising, and it was a really beautiful event, especially hearing from the young people there. And I wanted to share that we'll be running the low sensory zone this weekend at York Pride to help make Pride more accessible. So if you are at York Pride this weekend, please come by and say hi to us from 360 Kids.
Thank you. We certainly will.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Let's open the mic and share your thoughts. If not, then we'll move on to the staff report. Principal Michelle, your turn, please.
Hi there, thank you. All right, so I'll start with the Inclusive School and Community Services in partnership with a network of educators supporting Jewish learners, hosted a Jewish Heritage Month celebration on May 6th at Westmount Collegiate Institute. The event brought together students, families, staff, and community members for an evening of connection, creativity, and learning. Participants enjoyed an engaging experience with a featured author and artist, including a live reading of a children's book, followed by a hands-on art activity inspired by storytelling, identity, and shared experiences. The event provided meaningful opportunities to celebrate Jewish identities, cultures, and contributions while fostering community connection and belonging. And since our last meeting, the Families of Black Students monthly information sessions have continued to provide ongoing support and connection for families, parents, and caregivers. At our May session, participants had the opportunity to learn more about the YRDSB's early years programs and to engage in a review of the past year's work. The session concluded with information about upcoming programs and events, helping families stay informed and connected and supporting their child's ongoing success. And the Center for Black Student Excellence also hosted the Careers and Scholarships event, exploring post-secondary pathways with YRDSB on May 20th. And that was an in-person event that brought together students, families, staff, and community members for an evening that focused on future opportunities and student success. Participants had the opportunity to hear from guest speakers, including Cheryl Yard from the Black Foundation of Community Networks and Paul Jones as sportscaster for the Toronto Raptors, while also engaging with a variety of post-secondary representatives and informational displays. Discussions focused on educational pathways, post-secondary opportunities, and the scholarships that are available to students. The event provided meaningful opportunities for students and families to explore future opportunities, access information and resources, and build connections that support post-secondary planning. The work reflects YRDSB's ongoing commitment to fostering high expectations, equitable access to opportunity, and student achievement and well-being. And on May 25th, the Alliance of Educators for Black Students hosted its annual Student Achievement Awards, bringing together students, families, educators, community members, and partners to celebrate the accomplishments and contributions of Black students across YRDSB. The awards recognize Black students in grades 4 through 12 who have demonstrated excellence in academics, the arts, athletics, and citizenship. Each recipient was honored for their dedication, resilience, leadership, and positive impact within their school and the broader community. And on May 26th, the Supporting East Asian Students Network, in partnership with Inclusive School and Community Services and the Community and Partnership Developer Team, hosted the East Asian Heritage Celebration, honoring culture, building connections, as part of Asian Heritage Month. The event brought together students, families, staff, and community members to recognize and celebrate the rich histories, cultures, and contributions of East Asian communities. Highlights included cultural performances, interactive workshops, and activities led by students and community members, and virtual showcases featuring the creative talents of East Asian students from across YRDSB. A special highlight of the evening was the presentation of the SEA's Leadership and Community Impact Student Awards, recognizing East Asian identifying students who have demonstrated outstanding leadership, advocacy, volunteerism, and positive contributions within their schools and communities. And on June 2nd, the Muslim Student Association hosted its annual Eid al-Adha celebration, bringing together students, families, and staff from across York Region for an evening of connection, reflection, and community. Participants enjoyed a variety of activities, including henna, arts and crafts, games, and opportunities to connect through shared traditions, food, and celebration. The event created a welcoming space for students and families to come together, celebrate, and strengthen relationships across schools and communities. Now in its second year, the MSA continues to provide meaningful opportunities for Muslim identifying students to build connections, celebrate their identities, and foster a sense of belongings. And next, and this is actually this evening, the Ukamuthu Kai Vidal Tamil Students Awards of Excellence. And this evening, they're hosting that event at Richmond Green Secondary School, bringing together students, families, staff, and community members to celebrate the achievements and contributions of Tamil students across YRDSB. The ceremony will recognize students in grades 7 through 12 who have demonstrated excellence in areas including perseverance, academics, athletics, the arts, and citizenship. Schools from across the system have nominated students whose leadership, determination, and accomplishments have made a positive impact within their schools and communities. Again, the celebration provides an opportunity to honor the strengths, talents, and successes of Tamil students while affirming their identities and contributions. And next, we'll move along to significant faith days, days of recognition, and celebrations. So throughout YRDSB, schools and workplaces, students and staff celebrate and recognize the diverse faith celebrations that have occurred and will be occurring in May and June. These included, amongst others, YRSAC, Shavuot, Eid ul-Adha, and Ashura. As well, YRDSB schools and workplaces, students and staff celebrate and recognize significant days of awareness that occurred this month. And again, we have National Indigenous Peoples Day. These observances provide an opportunity to honor and recognize the diverse histories, traditions, and contributions of various cultural groups, enriching students and staff's understanding of their community and the broader world. By integrating the learning into the curriculum, schools promote awareness, encourage empathy, and celebrate the unique identities of all students. As well, celebrating Heritage and History Months in education is important for fostering an inclusive and respectful learning environment in our schools, our classrooms, and our communities. Throughout YRDSB schools and workplaces, these observances provide an opportunity to honor and recognize the diverse histories, traditions, and contributions of various cultural groups, enriching students, staffs, and families' understanding of their community and the broader world. Throughout May and June, the following Heritage or History Months were celebrated or are being celebrated in our schools: Armenian Heritage Month, Asian and South Asian Heritage Month, Jewish Heritage Month, Dutch Heritage Month, Polish Heritage Month, Filipino Heritage Month, Italian Heritage Month, the National Indigenous History Month, Portuguese Heritage Month, and Pride Month. In YRDSB, where diversity is one of our greatest strengths, recognizing, celebrating, and incorporating cultural heritage and history months in schools is an essential step towards promoting equity, combating discrimination and racism, centering humanity, and fostering a sense of belonging for everyone. And I'll turn it back to you, Chair Trustee Lapp.
Thank you very much for the detailed report. I also have the board report for y'all. Let me just bring it back up. Okay, so I'm just gonna, you guys see it, I'm just gonna read it fairly quickly. In the May 19, 2026 Learning Equity Wellbeing Standing Committee meeting, we received a Dismantling Anti-Black Racism Strategy Information Report. The report was focused on the updates of the strategy and includes information about the delivery of targeted student-focused initiatives to improve credit accumulation, graduation outcomes, and well-being support for the Black students. So the reports also highlights leadership pilot program at Tommy Douglas Secondary School and some meaningful family and community engagement initiatives. Also at the June 2nd, 2026 Lucy meeting, we received the Mathematics Achievement Action Plan, the Progress Update Information Report, the Ministry's Mathematics Achievement Action Plan is part of the Better Schools as Student Outcomes Act, Bill 98, and it includes a summary around progress of the board areas of foci for priority schools and all schools, the professional learning opportunities and supports and information regarding digital math tool usage. Also, we received the District Action Plan June Monitoring Report for 25-26. This report focused on updates and data to support the monitoring 3 priorities: the student achievement, health and well-being, and human rights and inclusive education. On May 19, 2026, the Lucy Standing Committee trustees also received a Dismantling Anti-Black Racism Information Report. And June 2nd, no, this is a repeat of the same thing. Oh, it's a repeat of the same thing. Sorry. Okay, so those are the few reports that we got from the board. So, do you have any questions regarding that? So if there are no questions, I think it comes time to adjournment for the meeting. I think there you go, right? Next meeting is September. But I just want to share something with you all. This particular committee has, like, I've been on it for a number of years now since I started. It really helped me to understand the 2 words, equity and inclusivity, because being outside of the school realm, I have no knowledge what it is. But last few years, you guys have taught me a lot, and I see how much the school board is putting investment in those 2 particular areas. So I applaud the board to do it. I applaud that y'all be part of it, and I thank you for teaching me. Okay, so that's all I have to say. So with that, I wish everyone have a great summer, and great and safe summer, and look forward to see you all next coming September. Okay? All right. Thank you very much, and you have a great evening. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.